Want to do an opening statement?
Sure, I will keep practicing. I think several of the things that we have talked about since Vegas with our team, I think some of that came to fruition, particularly in the first half. We want to play with more pace offensively. Obviously, that was the fastest game that we've played. It was our highest OER of the year. It was our lowest turnover rate. Those are all really positive things. Marcus and Four played combined with only 2 turnovers. That's gigantic for our team. Entering tonight's game, obviously they're our primary ball handlers. They had 40% of our turnovers, and tonight they only had 20%, with 10 being the overall number. I thought we did some really good things in the first half defensively relative to what we want to try to accomplish. Did not start the second half well. They just got it to the middle of the floor repeatedly, called the first time out. Nothing changed until between then and the first media timeout. It's just the next step that we have to take. We're not going to be able to have a margin where we can play really well on both ends of the floor, particularly the first 100 minutes of the game, and then give away, I guess it was probably the first 25 minutes of the second half out of 100 where we weren't executing defensively. I think some of the pace allowed us to have comfort with the shots that we took. I thought we shared the ball really well. Defensively, we just can't allow the ball to get to the middle of the floor. Both halves, they got to the bonus first. And that's not a good sign for us. We always want to be the first team to the bonus. Encouraged by what we've learned over the first 20 days of our team. This is the first time in my career that we'll have 5 work days in a non-conference schedule where we can just concentrate on us. We'll be off tomorrow. We'll work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, off on Sunday because Olin goes to church, and then work on Monday and Tuesday, and then be off on Wednesday. We've got to really utilize our staff. We've been talking a lot since Vegas. We got to really utilize these 5 days almost like it's finals week for our program. From the summer through 33 practices, through 8 games, these are the things that we know we're good at, that we need to watch, that we need to tighten up, that we need to make better. These are the things that we need to watch, that we need to rep, that we may need to reteach that we're not good at. And I think those 5 days, that's what I just talked to our team about. How can we be very mature in how we handle those 5 days of work? Because I think that that's really important going into the 5 games in December.
Questions?
It's too long.
If y'all did not play as well for what you were looking for in the second half, do you think that's just because guys got in control and maybe got complacent because it was going so well and they had a 20-point lead?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Olin, what the right thing is. The first time out, I don't say anything. And then the first media time out, I scream. And neither one of them had an impact. And I think a little bit of it is what you said. I think a little bit of it is lack of discipline. I think a little bit of it is lack of maturity. I think a little bit of it is, Buzz, relax, we're going to win. But mature teams don't give away consecutive possessions of complete lack of execution on both ends. And I think that in Vegas, a lot of our offense stemmed from our defense. And I think too often tonight, particularly in our second half, we were too reliant on our offense and not doing what will be required the last 100 days of the season defensively. And we're not good enough, and we won't have margin enough, and I'm not trying to be overcoach, but we're not going to be good enough where we can give 6 minutes of a game away. We're not going to be that good. We have the chance to be good, but that chance will be, can we play 200 minutes with 11 guys being the best version of who they can be? And that's what we've got to get to.
Do you leave this game with the stats and the improvements that you talked about on your mind more, or do you leave it a little bit more that 6 minutes that you kind of felt like were dropped?
I think it's both. Like, I know you weren't at practice yesterday, but literally the same exact thing that happened in the second half tonight is what happened in practice yesterday. And so I stopped practice. I don't holler and scream, but I have a conversation about, you see, we just gave away 10 possessions, and then we turn it. And then the same thing happens again tonight. But in truth, the same thing happened against Wisconsin. That's a credit to Wisconsin. And I'm not saying that we were going to beat them by 16, but it's 26-10. And then we go through a 7-minute drought of they score every time and we can't score. I just don't think that we're going to have 7 minutes to give away as the season progresses. And I know that it sounds like I'm making it about me as a coach. No, it's our team, and we're not going to be able to do that, right? And we have to be able to have a level of concentration. This is where we need to improve offensively. And we did that in many respects. This is where we need to improve defensively. And we did that particularly in the first half. But then when it just becomes a push in the second half, yeah, that's not good enough, right? And we did some different things matchup-wise, trying to, I think I mentioned this to you yesterday, we're third in the league in defensive field goal percentage, but last in defensive rebounding percentage. That we're third is great, that we're last is not good. And if we were middle of the pack, we would be closer to first. And so they had 9 offensive rebounds and they missed 29 shots. That's a better defensive rebounding percentage. And then based on our matchups, I know we're playing without Henry, but we were trying to do some things to help us on the defensive glass and then also help us on the offensive glass. And in some respects, that did take place. The turnover rate, distinctly better. The pace, distinctly better. But too many, in the second half, they got to the paint 68% of their possessions. That just means you're in rotation. That's why they got to the bonus first. We couldn't guard the ball, and we're going to have to be able to guard the ball. It was our best OER, and it was just okay defensively as far as our DER.
Now, Manny got his first start today, and
he played good, didn't he?
And, yeah, especially defensively with what he was able to do on St. Blair. I mean, I think he had about 10 points at the half, and that was pretty key in that extending that lead.
Number 10 shot 27 balls at Northwestern. Number 10 shot 21 balls against Rice. He had shot 74 more balls than anybody on the team through 7 games. That's a lot of shots. He's averaging 21.6. I think collectively our team was very aware of how potent he was offensively. I think Three's a very complete player. Manny's physicality helps him. And he's a switchable. He's a guy that we've always wanted to have on our team. We want as many of those guys as possible. Guys that can pass, dribble, and shoot, and guys that can guard multiple players. I think the pace he is getting more comfortable with. And then I think the next thing where he struggles, and we've been talking a lot about this individually, you kind of have to know where you're at on the floor offensively, and good players know that. He knows that. But you have to have that same innate feel defensively. When he's changing his feet and giving straight line drives, it's not because he wants to give up a straight line drive. It's just because he doesn't really know where he's at on the floor defensively. I thought tonight he was much more aware of where he was at and who he was guarding. So much of what we're trying to accomplish, Travis, is are you self-aware and are you opponent-aware? Well, we black, we switch 1 through 4 a lot, and depending upon who's in the game, we switch 1 through 5. So you have to be aware of who you are, but you have to be aware of who you're guarding. And that requires a lot of discipline. Am I guarding 10? Am I guarding 3? Am I guarding a guy that can't shoot? And I thought his physicality, I know he only got 1 credit for 1 offensive rebound, in the first half, but he had a lot of balls tipped, and some of those balls were tipped to Boots for a putback. I think it was JB for a putback. Like, he was in the mix as a go-get, and that's encouraging. I thought he played really well.
We've seen Andre kind of step up and shoot with more confidence the last couple of games, Coach, and he said that's kind of the role you've asked him to play this year.
It may have been Olin that was, somebody's paying him to write a story for somebody. Man, I stand at attention for Dre. I love him. I love his story. I love the people that I know that are around him. He went from being a primary ball handler his whole career, playing out of position, to we don't want you to dribble unless you're dribbling in a straight line. And we need you to be a catch shoot. And entering tonight, he's 55% from three. He's our best on-ball defender. It's not close. And he echoes what we want with conviction in practice and in a game, as well as any kid in our program. He cares for the right reasons. He wants Texas A&M to win. He tries to do his best, and his peers know he's trying to do his best. There is no selfishness in what he's doing, and he is an everyday guy. And he is one guy that in all of the changes we've made offensively and defensively, not only can he execute them, but in that change, he's had a complete metamorphosis as a player. And we need him to guard the best player. We need him to make open shots. We don't need him to over dribble. And I just, he's a guy you can count on. And accepting his role and still being a guy you can count on, I think that says a lot about who he is.
Anything else, Coach?
Henry Coleman,
He's probably shooting better than 55% if he's 3 or 4 tonight.
yeah, you expect Henry to be out long?
He took a charge yesterday. We had prayer meeting when he did it. We were so excited and thankful he took a charge. And there's some medical word for it, but basically there's a bruise in the small of his back, and he's having back spasms. He's going to be all right. I think it worked out good for a lot of reasons. He's been great. Played 9 minutes against Notre Dame and was the best assistant coach on the bench. Another guy that has completely bought into what we're trying to do, why we're trying to do it. He knows every Texas A&M yell better than most alums. He's been phenomenal. And I think, obviously, he was off today, got hurt yesterday. That allowed some reps by everybody else. He was a great assistant coach tonight. Off tomorrow. I think he'll probably be okay by Thursday. We need all of our guys to get as many reps as possible over the next 5 work days.
Good. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.